Peace to the gang, and welcome to Quit the Cat Podcast. Peace to the gang, and welcome back to Quit the Cat Podcast.
Yes, sir.
It's your boy VP alongside the Bishop.
Yes, sir.
And we're coming to you live from beautiful Bang Bang Fitness Center here in Harrisburg,
right.
PA. And today,
Yes.
on today's episode, ladies and gentlemen,
Yes.
we have the founder of the Lazarus Firm, LLC. It's a consulting firm for ex-offenders re-entry services. I hope I said that right.
No, close enough, though.
Close enough. All right, my bad.
I'll clarify.
He's going to clarify for us, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
He's the president of Bro to Grow, empowering, equip, and motivate men and women who are ex-offenders. The former secretary, Pennsylvania Board of Pardons.
Yes.
Yes. And he also received a pardon from Governor Tom Wolf in March of 2019 after serving time for drugs and firearms. We have a brand new man with us, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
Mr. Brandon Flood.
Yes.
Thank you,
today,
thank you,
sir?
thank you for having me.
All right.
Yeah. So before we get into it,
Yes.
we got to do a vibe check first and foremost.
Yes.
So Bishop, what's your vibe?
I'm liberated, bro.
Oh, he's lit.
Yeah.
Dang, you getting great with these words. I like them joints.
After I left Friday, I felt liberated. My
Word.
life, I felt the change in my life, bro, because I was doing something new. So
Word.
I feel liberated.
And you said that
man.
Saturday
Yeah.
morning, too. That's
Yeah.
real talk.
I
You
do.
said
I
that
feel-
Saturday morning.
I feel good, man. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Brandon?
Yeah, I'm energized, man.
Energized.
Yeah.
We got liberated, energized. And I'm out here. I'm flabbergasted. I'm going with flabbergasted. Cause I'm inspired.
Yeah.
I'll be around some inspiring brothers.
Appreciate
And
it.
I just love to see my brothers doing their thing. So
Yeah,
I'm
I
inspired. I'm
appreciate
super
I
inspired.
appreciate it, man.
So before we also get into this, we got some money just floating around.
Oh, yeah.
But can you tell us what that's about?
Oh, my
I
money.
ain't never.
So,
I don't know if we had some strippers in here.
Nah.
Who was
See, what
going
happened
on?
was I pulled up and it blew to the door. And I just said, money's about to be flowing in.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
I picked it up, and that was my sign.
That
So
is a
I
sign.
So I put it right there. So everybody gets to be connected that sits under that
Facts.
window.
Yeah, I need it.
Yup.
I can use it, rather.
You ain't never had money just walk to you.
Yeah,
He got money walking
over.
over
I
to
opened the
him.
door, it blew right to me. I said,
Yeah.
"Yup, this is what that is."
Oh man,
No, it
that's
wasn't about
awesome.
the amount. It
Right.
was the purpose of it. So
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you know that was my sign. So I'm just
Man.
gonna keep it rolling, baby.
Hey, let's
Yeah.
get into some good money with Mr. Flood. What's
Yes,
going on,
sir.
man?
Oh, man, I'm good, man. Enjoying life. And,
Mr. Energized.
keep
Yeah.
staying busy for me, keeps me sane. So,
You came around the corner on two wheels. What was that about?
yeah, listen, man, I like to be prompt, man. You know,
Okay.
I was maybe about 45 seconds late.
Hey,
Yeah, I try to be punctual.
Okay.
You know, and I try to give your platform the same
Yes.
respect that I would give any other platform,
Absolutely.
27 News or whatever. So
I know you cut out. You was doing something busy, and you cut out for me, and I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I definitely appreciate that.
yeah, that's super.
He was with you. Was that a cool detail?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You know, as the viewers know, the governor, or soon-to-be Governor Shapiro, will be inaugurated tomorrow, as well as the new lieutenant governor, Austin Davis. So they had a pre-inauguration event down on Front Street at Kings Manor. So,
Okay.
got the schmooze. I went through the network, so I did what I needed to do,
Okay.
and now I'm here.
Okay, I appreciate it. And for y'all that see it, that'll probably be happened already. But it'll be Tuesday, but it already happened.
Yeah.
So make sure you see that and check that out. So what's up, man? We appreciate you being here. I know you were on the podcast previously, but a lot has changed, and you have had leaps and bounds since then, and you done rumbled, and you standing right here, and
Right.
looking good, looking healthy. So can you take us? I know it's probably you still to remember before you had the Board of Pardons.
Right.
So can you just take us in through that journey and?
Yeah, I would say, prior to that journey, you alluded to the fact I received a pardon myself in
Yes,
March of
yes,
2019. So for those that don't know me, born and raised right here in Harrisburg, got into the same stuff that a lot of young black males get into,
Right.
Drugs, crime, living in, operating that underworld. I ended up serving 9 years in state prison, 4 years as an 18-year-old for drugs,
Right.
and then ended up coming home, going right back into the same thing, ended up getting a 5 to 10 year sentence for drugs and a firearm. That time.
Right.
So,
Yes.
kind of really had that aha moment. I would say maybe 2008. There's a lot of what helps people to be able to re-enter successfully and not recidivate is finding what their passion is. Much like you find that the fitness is your passion. For me, it was government, it was politics. Learning, there's the old adage goes, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Absolutely.
So once that clicked for me, especially being here from Harrisburg, we're the capital city, it couldn't have been a better place for me to live or go back to than Harrisburg if I was going to get into the political arena. So ended up getting an internship for the House of Representatives 2010. I got out February 2010, ended up getting an internship maybe about May 2010.
Okay.
And from there was, you kind of learn how the sausage is made and, absorb everything and, begin to progress within the General Assembly, within the House of Representatives. Ended up, once you get the institutional knowledge, for me, this is a space I'm always staying.
So I want to jump in there real quick because I don't want to get too far and miss it. So were you in prison learning? Did that become the switch? Because now what I know now, it wasn't like you just came out. I don't want people to think you just came out and it was like, oh, boom, light came on, this is what I'm doing. There had to have been a process that which you figured out. So tell us about when you figured out what it was that you was going to do.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, for me it was around 2007, 2008. Again, prior to me being incarcerated, I didn't know anything about politics. I wasn't interested. I never voted. I didn't care about the right to vote.
Right.
So for me, but once I got into prison, started reading, starting to take things serious, wanting to be able to expand my mind. It was the warden in the prison who, I don't know if he just seen how I conducted myself. Even like public speaking, I was never one of those people that I was a reserved person. I spoke unless I needed to speak. I needed to speak. But in there, I was at SCI Chester my last go around, and they have a very, I would say their prison. It's a lot of engagement from the community. Okay. So you got institutions of higher learning, colleges coming in there. You got all kinds of volunteers coming. Okay. We had Temple, we had Drexel. Okay. So they had these kind of different classes like public speaking. You had cultural awareness. Okay. So it was that stuff that really kind of got me about, taught me how to be a better communicator and kind of step outside of my comfort zone. But to your point, it was the warden of the prison, or superintendent rather. He said, hey, a senator's coming up here. At the time, they even had senators coming to the jail. Right. He said, senator's coming up here to speak to the prison population. You seem to present yourself well. Do you want to, we want you to introduce him. So at the time, there was a guy named Stuart Greenleaf. He's since passed. I didn't know nothing about him. I had the librarian print some stuff off for me, and she Googled. And I gave him a proper introduction. And when he came up there, he just spoke about how the political system works. Okay. He spoke about how laws are drafted, what his colleagues say behind closed doors. A lot of what guides their decision making. And for me, it was like, you know what, I want to get into that. Okay. So it was, it was that was the moment for me. Yes. And then from there, I tried to learn as much as I could about how politics work. Okay. And at the time too, you may remember Linda Thompson was the mayor. So I said, no, I should be able to get an internship with her. Okay. She ended up having her issues before I got out, so that never materialized. But I ended up getting an internship with the House of Representatives.
That's dope, man. Yeah, that's so dope.
So they trapped your body, but your mind was still free.
And that's the mission. That's
what's
trying
up.
To get everybody to understand that. That's key. So was it? Because I know there was other things you could have did, other distraction. Was it easy to do versus seeing things? So your mind was made up that you was going to bog down, start learning. It wasn't. I like to say you didn't just say, okay, I'm gonna read, I'm gonna do. This was something that was already instilled in you. You just were making the wrong decisions, so you already were,
you was politicking.
You already, my man right there, where Malcolm X, right? That was another moment for me too. Okay. So reading the autobiography of Malcolm X, even though he wasn't a politician, right? He worked in that political space, and the one thing that I learned from him, it goes back to being an effective communicator. We all love how Malcolm talks, right? He usually moves the spirit. So for me, that's part of the reason why I even got into those classes about public speaking, because it was like, all right, I want to be like my man.
Because I read from he read a vast of everything. He said you must be fluent in even astrology, whether it didn't matter what it was. Yeah.
And to your point too, one of the benefits for me was that first bit, right? So I got to learn from that first bit. The first sentence I was more so concerned about. I got to have somebody riding with me, and why ain't you answering the phone? And whereas in the second sentence, I didn't want nobody to ride with me. I was kind of locked in and said, listen, it's easier for me. It's less stress if
Okay.
it's just me in here. So I had the time.
Okay.
I had less distractions from outside. So I kind of immersed myself in really trying to broaden my mind and and become a little bit more
Man, that's dope. So you
intellectual.
came out ready.
Right.
Came out ready. So you said you came out and you was trying. Did you internship with anyone?
No, so when I got out, I had a friend of mine who worked at the Capitol building, Rodney Oliver, and I'll give him a shout out. At the time, he was the executive director there, and I told him, he's a family friend. So I reached out to him while I was incarcerated and said, listen, this is what I want to get into.
Right.
So he said, if you're serious, we can maybe get you an internship. And the funny story about that is, so when he told me he could get it, he was like, yeah, it's only $7.25 an hour. And, at that time, I was like, man, I'm worth more than $7.25. And I applied to FIA. At the time, FIA, they were looking for customer service reps, and they were paying $12. So I was like, I'm going with FIA. But I had 3 interviews. They all went well with FIA, but because of the gun charge, FIA was like, no, we can't. So I ended up taking that internship by default.
Right.
And what he told me is like, listen, don't worry about the money now. Look at the opportunity. Get your foot in, get some experience, and then when positions open up, then you can apply for them. And, so that the $7.25, you're going to make that back 10 times, when you come on. And to his point, I wasn't even into my internship maybe 30 days before I ended up getting a full-time position as a alleged assistant. So
That's good money.
So did they take you serious right away? Did what you know, or did you feel like you were? So did you feel judged, or were you ready? Did you know? Okay, this is what Brandon knows, and this is what I'm gonna show. Like, was there any?
Well, that was a funny experience itself too, because most of the people I worked with didn't know my background.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2 people who knew someone who knew me may have said something, but in terms of the other people who didn't know, I came in there dressed up, every day. Now I one of the things I learned was now you at least got to look the part until you get enmeshed into that whole system. So yeah, at least I looked the part. I did the research. I would stay there as long as I had to in order to really get a grasp of the subject matter and do take homework home too. So when I was coming in there, at least I sounded like I knew what I talked about until I actually did know what I was talking about.
Okay. Like thank you to you.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
exactly what it is.
Absolutely.
So it's like no pressure.
No. I mean, what's funny is it was one of my when I was interning, it was one of the ladies who was she was a secretary at the time in the office. She was like, "Hey, the position's opening up," and at the time, and I'm still friends with this state rep to this day. I actually just talked to her 2 days ago. So it was a state rep, and I'll give her a name because she's no longer a state rep, but Vanessa Brown out of Philly, and they were like, at the time, she did go through a lot of staff, a lot of times. In her whole 10 years, she went through like 80 people.
Okay.
So they was like, yeah, nobody wants to work for her, so if you apply, it's a good opportunity. So I went and got her off the House floor. At the time, this is when synthetic marijuana first hit the scene. So that was one of my research projects as an intern, was to come up with legislation. So basically, I was coming up prohibiting the possession of synthetic marijuana. So I drafted the bill up and everything, pulled her off the floor and said, hey, I have this bill for you. I want you to run with it. And by the way, I heard you have a position open. And from the jump, we just clicked. Again, like I said, that friendship persists to this day. The irony of that whole relationship, too. So I ended up working for her for maybe like 5 years. And then she ended up incurring some legal battles herself and ended up getting convicted. And I ended up coming to her court hearing, her sentencing, and speaking on behalf, and kept her. And the judge said it. Said it's 3 people that's keeping you out of jail today. Her brother, it was an older woman who was a constituent of her that was like 80, and he said your former staffer. So and we still cool to this day. So it's been an interesting.
So wait, that was your plan? You just took it to her and she went through it.
That's what
she was like, yeah.
How do you draft a bill?
Well, yeah. See, that was one of the things too, is learning how to do that. And that was part of some of the research staff there, and they were showing me how to do that. And then, I mentioned the friend of mine too, the family friend Rodney. He showed me, the thing too. And then just kind of, and there was a lot of time when I had a lot of downtime as an intern because they were giving me like busy work. So at that point, I really was just researching how to do it and just looking, basically learning on the fly. For me, I was trying to absorb as much information. And then one of the things I saw too when I went to state government is a lot of people were really content with, I'm just here for my 30 years and get this pension, right? So I ain't really trying to move. I ain't trying to do nothing. Whereas I was like, I'm trying to progress up. So I was always trying to learn as much as possible.
Absolutely.
And for me too, what a lot of people don't know, I don't have a degree. I got a GED from Abraxas. So for me, it was all this stuff was learning on the job, and and then we live in this digital age now too. Now you can become a subject matter expert over the weekend.
Real quick.
Absolutely. I respect that one.
That's crazy.
It's crazy. So I gotta ask, were you one of the lasting people that worked for her?
Until she got convicted.
Like a stretch for her 80.
Yeah, listen, here's the thing, right? Because where I'm coming from, you got to think about this. That's when they told me, it's like, I mean, I've dealt with more bigger issues than because of someone's personality, right? And I need a job, so. And I think it also too was that woman on woman dynamic versus woman versus male. So she was so what she did, I was able to tolerate a lot of her quirkiness, but she gave me a lot of latitude. She basically was like, listen, you create my policies, and you just deal with my personality. Right. So that was a good trade off for me. And again, that allowed me to really beef up my resume and get a lot of experience under my belt. So. It's almost like, being in a relationship, right?
You came to understand so that you can grow and do what you need to do.
Right, where she can say stuff to me that if she may have said to someone else, they may take it personal quick. And we were almost like a married couple, right? She'll say something to me and we'll stop talking to each other for maybe 2 days, and it'll never be, hey, I apologize. We just kind of pick back up where we,
absolutely. I get it. I dig it. I can dig it. Not saying that happens, but
we all dig it. Listen, we understand.
we all dig it. We get it. Everybody gets it. So that part that puts you in position for the pardon.
So, what that is, again, sometimes in state government, you kind of get complacent and, you get comfortable. I mean, to be frank. So, a lot of people, when that work, especially for the House of Representatives, or they kind of don't want to leave or go out into foreign territory, right? They're used to being where they were. And even for me, I was kind of, because even like when I started working there, HR knew about my background and security knew about my background, but there wasn't nothing that they could do to stop it.
Right. Okay.
So I was somewhat hesitant to leave because I didn't want to have that address that issue with someone new who may have it as a problem. So for me, I was reluctant to do so, but I got to a point there where I just felt like I was clashing more with leadership than it was. We were working collaboratively. Right. So for me, I ended up saying, you know what, I'm gonna just go ahead and I'm getting out of here. Plus the money too. I mean, to be frank, it was all right. I can make more money, in the private industry. Yeah. So I ended up applying for a position, and I seen them tonight at the governor's event. SEIU, Service Employees International Union. So they represent janitors or custodians, airport workers, correction officers. So I was their legislative director for the state. So I ended up being with them for about a year. Okay. It wasn't my thing. Ended up coming back, not to the House of Representatives, but ended up going to work for the Department of General Services. Because at that point, I became kind of like a policy dude. Right. So I was able to leverage that experience and go wherever I wanted. So I ended up going to the Department of General Services. I was their policy and reporting specialist for about a year and a half. And then, the whole thing, how the pardon position came up. At the time, and I may have said this last podcast I was on, I just wanted my pardon. I didn't want to oversee the job. Right. My goal was to run for mayor last election cycle. And Wanda was supportive of that too, and that's part of why she jumped in, because she felt like the other, no shade to the other candidates, but she felt like they weren't qualified enough. Okay. So I just wanted the pardon. And so at the time I was with the state Pennsylvania NAACP, and I was doing like criminal justice and policy work with them. So I sent something to all the candidates that were running for lieutenant governor, including John Fetterman. Hey, here's some ideas on how to change that pardon system. Right. So when he gets the job, I contact him. I literally said in my email, I'm not looking for a job, because I'm sure a lot of people were hitting him up. Right. I said, but I'm about to start another position. I was about to go work for the governor to oversee his Commission on African American Affairs for the state. So I said, one of the things I'm going to do is pardon reform. Now, he knew me this whole time, but he didn't know about my background. Most of the people that worked with me, I would say 99% didn't know the background. Okay. So I said, and FYI, it may interest you to know that I just got a pardon or that I'm waiting for Governor Wolf to sign my own pardon. So he contacted me and said, hey, he offered me a job. Initially, I said no, because again, my shit was the mayor. Right. And then he came back and said, all right, well, first it was a deputy chief of staff. I was like, nah, I'm good. Then he came back with the secretary position, and I was like, I considered it. But the person who used to be in the position before me, I actually had a good relationship with them. So I called her and asked her, should I take it? And she told me no. She said it was more trouble than it's worth. But again, I'm looking at the ability of how much I can impact people,
Absolutely.
Right.
So because of that, and I even took a pay cut. I took a $2,000 pay cut to take the part of this job. I mean, it ain't much, but it's,
Right.
that's
That's
sushi money.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So yeah, I ended up taking the position, man, just because I'm one of those people. Like I said, I'm a restless person, so I'm never someone who's like, and I don't knock anyone who stays in a position for 10, 20 years,
Right.
But for me, I kind of, I feel I go to wherever I feel like I can make the greatest
right.
impact. So when I start feeling like I can't make an impact or I'm fighting against the powers that be too much, then I got to roll. So so when he offered me that, then I said, you know what? After some further consideration, I took it.
Okay. What exactly is a pardon?
So a pardon is total forgiveness from the
Okay.
executive branch. The executive branch is the governor. So it is as if you never have been convicted of a crime. So it's basically like you coming out
back
the
to
womb.
square
Yeah,
one.
you coming out the
Okay.
womb with no record whatsoever. So all your civil rights are restored. I mean, you can always vote with a record now. You can vote. You can enlist in the military. Get your firearm rights restored. You can travel internationally.
Okay.
Specifically, Canada is one of those places you can't go with a criminal record,
Right.
especially a felony.
Well, I won't be going to Canada.
Right. So all of those rights are restored. So yeah, that's something that and I think there's a lot of people that qualify or that are good candidates for it. So that's part of and we'll maybe talk later about it.
Okay.
But part of me leaving was to be able to do this work, and more importantly, challenge the powers because there's a lot of things I couldn't say as secretary, right?
Okay.
And I found that out during that time. So, but yeah, total forgiveness from the governor.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations on
Thank
that.
you.
'Cause that holds a lot of folks back.
Well, listen,
You know what
I was telling someone tonight, and part of what I do, so I enlisted in the National Guard in 2020. I was supposed to go in January 2021, but ended up having some medical issues that popped up.
Okay.
But I did that largely because, obviously there's benefits of doing that, but I also wanted to show people, hey, you can enlist in the military once
Right.
you get your pardon. Same thing with firearm rights, too. So, I bought a few firearms, even an AR, through the ATF.
Yeah.
So it really is as if that reset button is pushed. So a lot of times I do things because I'm interested, but
Right.
also to be able to show folks the
Okay.
actual
Yeah,
impact
yeah,
of it.
good
Right?
point. Yeah.
Because some people don't believe when I say it's like, well, you get everything, man. Like, it's
They're like, for real? Everything? Everything.
and that's part of what I do also with my firm too, is for when people do, especially even people who get pardon or expungements, when they come up against resistance or someone, even me, when I first got my pardon, it was an apartment I live in there now, apartment complex. They denied me because of my record. But I challenged it, so it took about maybe an hour and a half for them to reverse the decision. So that's a lot of what I do is help people be able to challenge employers that unfairly terminate them or just don't even consider them for employment.
So how's that going? You like it? You feel better solo on your own?
Yeah, part of even going there tonight is to be able to the governor's event tonight is I'm still going to consult the board about, hey, here's things that you can change or, put me out of a job. That's
right.
I gladly accept you put me out of a job. But in the meantime, until while these inefficiencies exist, I'm here to help people navigate through this inefficient process.
Because they're not going to put you out of a job.
Yeah.
Right. It's kind of, I tell people, and I met somebody earlier today, I tell all of my clients, I tell them from the jump, I was like, there's two things we can do here. I can show you how to do the shit yourself for free, or I can do it for a nominal fee. Same thing like for us when we go out to eat, right? We can make our own steaks and burgers all day, but we'd rather pay for the convenience of going somewhere else. And nine out of 10 people, when I tell them that, they're like, well, I just rather you do.
Yeah, that's me.
Right.
That's me. I can save time and do something else with it. I'm going to.
Well, see, and that's the thing, right? Because I literally had a guy who did that where when I first became secretary, I sent him the application.
Right.
And then when I started my own firm 4 years later, he sent me an email. I was like, yo, your name sounds familiar. He was like, oh, yeah, you met me at an event 4 years ago. You sent me everything, but I ain't put it in because, I know what I'm going to say up here, but couldn't put it in black and white. Right. I was like, you already had that shit by then.
Been on,
Right. He paid me, $400, I'll knock it out in 2 hours for him.
Yeah,
and it's, you know, and I don't even, and most of my clients I don't even have to see. It's always either over the phone or virtually.
Yeah.
So the convenience of it. So that part will always exist. And more importantly, be able to help people flesh their thoughts out.
if you know the constraints that it puts on you, it's worth the pay.
Yeah.
Like, it pays off in the long run, especially with mental freedom, just all the things that come with now. It's like a whole, like you said, a
Being
reset.
free again.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
get to
being
feel the
free
reset,
again.
especially if you're in a new mental place and it's
Well, listen, that's one of the things, one of the hallmarks of what I do, too, is I let you do payment plans, too. I'm kind of like, you know, the place where they say with the used car dealerships, no credit, you know, don't matter.
yeah.
So it really don't matter. I let you kind of determine your own payment schedule.
Right.
So the last reason why you shouldn't go through this shit is because you don't got the money, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you can't make it any more easier for
Right.
that
Right.
saying, listen, at least put a down payment down and you can determine whether you want to do this weekly, bi-weekly, monthly.
So let me ask you: is the list long? Do you have to be on the list, and is the list long because there's people that ain't going to, and they got to filter through who can and who can't? Is that
Yeah, that's part. I mean, because right now one of the issues with the process, the whole pardon process, is any and everybody can apply. As long as you're convicted, you can apply. So you got a lot of people that if there's no minimum requirements other than me being convicted,
Right.
I'm gonna try your chin,
Right.
especially with lifers, right? I got nothing but time in the world here in jail. So why not? Yeah, I got 2 years on a life sentence,
right,
sir.
yeah.
I'm putting in, like, you know that.
So wait, they mix them?
Yeah. So they have what's known as pardons, and then they have what's known as commutation. Well, to your point about mixing what I call non-viable people, meaning you really shouldn't be putting in and you ain't got a shot in hell, versus the people that should. So that was one of the things we instituted when I came on, was saying, hey, you need to have these different lanes of people, because there's no reason why you making everybody go through the same
Right.
uniform process. You got somebody got a shoplifting from 30 years ago going through the same process as a lifer. Like, it don't make sense. It's a waste of resources.
Yeah.
So that's something that we created, and I had a chance to talk to the newly soon-to-be lieutenant governor. You know, I told him, listen, let me help you out, man. I ain't asking for nothing other than give you free game. And if you don't take it, then, you know, that's on you.
It won't hurt you to listen.
Right.
Yeah, it won't hurt you to listen. Man, that's amazing.
That is
So,
amazing.
well, you answered that part about that. Why did you decide to call it Lazarus?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. So a few reasons. You know, obviously, for a lot of people that have convictions, you know, the biblical story of Lazarus, raising someone from the dead, Jesus raising Lazarus from the dead. You know, essentially, you know, that's akin to people who feel like that they aren't part of society, right? With those convictions, you know, so, you know, raising you back to being a first-class citizen, so to speak. You know, the other part of it too was, you know, I had a whole heart surgery, new heart.
Yeah.
So, you know, that was kind of the play. And then more importantly too, like I said, just the whole theme of being able to raise someone from the dead or be able to lift you out of that, your situation. So for me, it made sense.
I'm glad you brought that up. So I wanted to ask you about that. So was it a place in your life where, did you know that your heart was, did you feel anything? Like, what led to, when did you start to, just take us through that journey? Because I know that had to been like an awakening, a different perspective. Like, did you really have to, take us leading up to that, like, where were you at?
Yeah, listen, I said earlier, I was going to National Guard, right? So they cleared me that summer. That August is when I had the physical, and they did the EKG and said, you're good to go. So so what I had to do, what took the time from August to January, I needed a waiver from the federal government, because I believe the age of 34 is the cutoff for the National Guard. I was 39, but they can grant you a waiver. So I was waiting for DC to get back to me and grant me the waiver. So all I was doing was waiting. So
November, exercising all his rights.
Right. You know, that's car payment. Man. They give you $2,000 a year for one week a month.
Yeah.
So November comes, and, you know, so I've always had sleep apnea, right?
Okay.
And for any of the ladies that I've known in the past, slept with it, they always brought that to my attention, like, yeah, your sleep apnea is bad. And I was never one of those people that do the
mask.
Yeah.
Okay.
What they call it, a joint.
CPAP.
Yeah, CPAP machine. So,
That.
so that I was just living my life, and, you know, at the time, COVID was, was very prevalent. And the day that it happened, I went up to SEI Green to speak to lifers. And I was feeling I felt like a little fatigued and whatnot. So making that ride, coming back, like I had to pull over a couple times. I just didn't know if I was sick or what. So I finally get back. And for me, when I'm usually sick, I'm one of those people that, in maybe 3-4 days, it just goes away. Right. And for me at the time, I was heavy into the gym. Okay. So, it was 1 or 2 days, but I took off for a week, so I knew something wasn't right. Yeah. And then just coming back, that ride from Greene County, it just felt like something wasn't right. And I tried to sleep it off.
You thought like the flu or something?
I thought I had COVID. I just didn't want to be quarantined. So I was like, damn, I'm not trying to go down here and then tell me I got to be quarantined. I got too much stuff going on. But at that point, I just had to. So I take my laptop down there, go to the emergency room, sit down there for 6 hours, and they're like, yo, you're experiencing cardiogenic shock. Like, your heart's pumping at like 15%. Like, so they end up flying me to Pittsburgh maybe like 2 days later, and to get a second opinion, and they were like, yeah, you're going to need a transplant. So initially what was supposed to happen was I was supposed to wait on the street for it. So at the time, I ended up at least announcing my candidacy for lieutenant governor as a Republican, because I thought I was going to be waiting on the street. So I was like, well, I can campaign while I'm waiting, get the sympathy vote.
Right.
So they kept, every time my discharge date was coming up, they just kept pushing it back, and then finally they were like, yeah, if we discharge you, like, you ain't, you might have a year. You ain't going home. So they were like, you have to stay and get the transplant. So initially they were going to do like the mechanical, less invasive process. But, the quality of life for me, it's always been quality of life. But I don't try to keep me here to be 90.
That's weak.
So, and with that mechanical procedure, I couldn't get in, like, it was, I had to wear a vest and all kinds of stuff. I couldn't get in the water. No, I'm a beach guy, so I was like, I'm not doing that. So I was like, let's just go for the full Monty. So a lot of things end up working out for me because
you'd have been like Iron Man. It'd have been like Iron Man wearing that thing.
I can't wear these suits, man. These suits is already tight. You can't put the vest on.
That don't work out at all.
Right, so they a lot of things ended up working out for me. I don't know if it was just could be obviously could be the Lord or what, but for me it was just like, I was just very matter of fact about things with the nursing staff. So they end up moving some stuff around. I end up getting the heart in like 37 days. Where people are usually waiting years for that. So they had the surgery December 27th. I ended up getting the heart the day after Christmas, the heart offer. The 26th, and then the 27th they did the surgery. It's about an 8-hour procedure, and
So did they take the heart for like to match it towards your age or the type of lifestyle you was going to live? How do they? What was?
That's part of what goes into where you at on the list too, right? And I remember being the nurses asking me, did I ever smoke marijuana? I'm like, and then the one nurse came and was like, don't tell them that. Because it's literally a committee that decides whether you get a heart or not.
Right.
So she's like, don't say that. So they did look at age. That was a factor. They looked at, at least my health prior to the
they want to give it to somebody who's going to live.
Right. They looked at whether you had a drug history.
That's deep.
Or if you lived a high risk life.
Right.
Obviously, if you have any diseases, or ailments, so that's what they looked at. So I think all of those things, in combination with one another, that really kind of.
They want to make sure you can pay the bill for it.
Right.
That's for real. They got to keep you alive long enough to pay this thing off.
Right. That in total, it was about my $2 million altogether. So
I know. I can imagine. Make sure he lives. He got to live. He can pay it off.
Yeah, but for me, going through that process to your other point about just the experience itself. I don't know. I've always been a practical guy, and I felt like at least the 39 years I was on this planet, I did a lot.
Right.
So I was kind of at peace with it, right? So I was telling my folks, here, let's get everything in order, will and all that. And obviously it was more difficult for them because it's like, I'm telling them, listen, you got to prepare.
So wait. So you said you felt at peace with it? I
felt at peace. Yeah, I'm saying I was cool with it, if things went south, life insurance was already in place. I was at peace with it. So, when it didn't. So obviously when the surgery was successful, for me it was kind of like, obviously it makes you appreciate life more, but it was also more so like, I want to be do things that I want to do.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right.
I was going to say make you want to do more.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also too, I think I'm a little bit more candid and transparent than I was prior to the heart. A lot of people that I've encountered, they've experienced that.
Damn, I'm like, wait, because the heart can live outside of the body for a while. Do you feel the other person in you?
Yeah, that's the question I got from a lot of people too. No, not necessarily. And that's the other part too. They don't tell you
what you might be eating that you never thought you ate before. Might not know it.
I don't know.
You might not know. Think of all the things you might not have used to do as the old Brandon, like the new.
Or maybe telling the truth completely. I think that's what they may. I'm gonna just be honest, especially in a personal life, or for me, I find that a lot of people appreciate the truth more, and it's how you deliver it. Now times, I like to say I'm comically honest, because it's like, I can't believe you said it, and you say it in a way where it's like, you.
It's better for you when you do. I feel like I'd rather tell you that it's better, because I don't want to carry it. I'm like, nah, you're not fat.
You don't want that burden on you.
And like I said, some people appreciate it. Yeah, I don't know. One of the things they don't tell you is they don't tell you who your donor was or any details. The family of the donor has to voluntarily do that. The only thing I know is that it was a younger person and that it was a Caucasian.
Yeah, I read a book called Subliminal, and so listen, I'll be believing my books, but they gave the young girl a transplant, and she started having these dreams, and she was able to help them. No, she got the eyes. The other guy got the heart. But she started having these visions from the person that she got the eyes from, and come find out she was murdered, and she helped them solve the case. Like, it's a real thing. I went and looked up the article. So I was wondering, they were talking about like our hearts and certain body parts that we get, that the source of life is still trapped within inside the cells.
No, listen, the nurses said that too.
So when you put the heart or the whatever transplant, it starts to link up with the cells, and the cells that were trapped inside of the organ start to attach to your cells. And you might have like cravings, you might think of something, or you might feel a little bit more energetic if that person was like a scuba diver or a skier. It might, because it made a lady that was she was well reserved. She had got a heart of a girl that was energetic, played track, did soccer, all the things she was fearful and scared of doing, she started to do. And her daughter was like, yo, it was so crazy. Like, my mom actually got on a roller coaster. She started doing these different things. So she ended up asked them to get in contact with the young lady's family whose heart she got. And they told her all these different things that the daughter used to do. So
see, that was so what they do is they let you kind of through a third party reach out to the family. Obviously, it's up to the family to respond back. I didn't do that. A lot of people was like, well, why don't you do it? And for me, I think the best way I can honor their son's legacy is making the most of my life with the heart. So, as opposed to, and obviously if they want to reach out, I'll gladly do it, but I just never really felt compelled. But who knows? I may not know what it is. Apparently this motherfucker was an honest aide.
I just feel compelled to tell you.
But how do you feel now? Like, how does it, do you still work out? Do you still in the beaches?
Yeah. Now, it took about 3 months. So I got discharged in January. I had to wait 3 months, because they go through your sternum. They cut through your sternum. So I had to wait for that to heal. I kind of did some unconventional stuff. They wanted me to go to like UPMC and do like the elliptical. And I was like, I'm just going to Planet Fitness.
Right.
And I know my body too, because they, again, a lot of people. There's young people that go through the process, but a lot of them are more of advanced age. So they told me not to lift more than like a milk jug, a gallon of milk and stuff. I was like, I know my body. I'm not gonna overexert myself, but so that's worked out well. I feel pretty well.
You look good. I told you that when I seen you. I said, man, brother, you look good.
The only thing that really, I guess, kind of reminds you of is that I will have to take medication for the rest of my life. So I have to take anti-rejection medication, anti-infection medication. So, it's usually times of the day when I have to do that. So other than that, I'm pretty good at that. But that's really the only kind of reminder where I'm kind of reminded that. Or when I have to refill. The medication ain't cheap either. So I'm out of, I had my year evaluation, which was the 27th of December. I went up to Pittsburgh, got the heart biopsy, no rejection. All my vitals and everything were fine. So yeah, and I try to reach out to the National Guard recruiter again and say, listen, I'm up to bat again.
Right.
Yeah.
But they ain't gonna grant me a waiver this time. You got too much going on.
I'm glad that you bounced back and you.
That's
You know, my
amazing.
prayers was with you. I
Thank
definitely was like, I was like, wait, what? He's okay. I would, you know, and I'm glad everything worked out. And when I seen you, I was like, man, he looks amazing.
Thank you.
Like, and I was definitely look better than before. Like,
Well,
to be
as I
honest.
said, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean, at this point, I try to be I'm trying to be a better version
Okay.
of I was before. So, you know, I said that to somebody tonight. They were like, yeah, I seen you went through all that stuff, man. I'm glad to see you bounce back. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, if anything, I think now I'm trying to be mindful not to go as
Right,
hard
right.
as, you know, to be, you know, not go super hard, but I definitely.
So
try to
do
make
you
the most of the
evaluate
time.
life differently of how you allow stress or things to, like, so let me ask you, do you have a daily routine of, I'm big on how you start the day and how you end the day. So do you have like a morning routine that you do to put yourself centered, and because you're out in the world and doing so many different things that can become stressful, or how do you, knowing that, okay, yes, I'm fine, my heart, so how do you put that all in perspective of how much of Brandon can I give? How much can I give to this? How much do I have for my family and different things to be able to balance the heart, to make sure, you know, because I'm big on no stress. I'm big on finding those things. I'm big on keeping the body circulating and moving a certain way. So for you, is it out of your mind, so to say, that, or do you guard yourself on what you intake, and how excited do you allow things or people or situations to overwhelm you?
On social media, not as much as I did, you know, 'cause
Okay.
before. You know, I'm coming on the page,
Right,
you know,
right,
coming
right.
in the comments
Right,
section
right,
and all that.
Yeah, you
I was
was
even when I was in the hospital. I They was like, "Yo, what is you doing?" You know.
Yeah.
So not so much on social media. I mean, that was an experience in and of itself too. I mean, I know they're like, "Yeah, you don't have to dignify every response," but for
Right.
me, I'm one of those people that, you know, I want to be able to address it directly, right? There's some people and some, you know, public officials that they ain't gonna respond back to you, and they're not gonna, you know, engage you at all.
Right, right.
For me, I wanted to be, I want to clear everything up,
Yeah,
right? So
yeah.
I'm gonna give you the opportunity to
Yeah.
ask exactly what you want
Right.
to ask, you know, and bring clarity to
Yeah.
it. So yeah, not so much on social media now, because a lot of people like, yeah, you don't post as much as you used
Right.
to.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, you know, you're right. In terms of like my daily routine, so I don't necessarily have anything in the morning or anything where I'm like that's really what I'm trying to get to now, because I lobby full time too, in addition to
Okay.
the record clearance stuff. So trying to balance that. Yeah, I mean, obviously family, you know, I have my son and I have 3 sons. So I still am very much engaged with them. Yeah, I'm trying to strike that fine balance, especially on the personal side.
Wait, I'm feel you don't got nothing for mental release and clarity.
I do, but I probably can't say it on the podcast.
I'm talking about, long as you making time for yourself to like.
Oh yeah, listen, that's one thing I think for me. I've become better at being by myself, right?
Okay.
So my apartment's like the bat cave, man.
Okay.
You know, so it's literally I enjoy my own company.
Right.
Now. So
Okay.
even
That's
if I'm just
major.
talking through things, some things might be professional or personal. But yeah, just enjoy. I mean, I was that way beforehand, but really enjoying my own company, and that may be a sign, of, you know, or you
That's
know, a
growth in the
characteristic
trait,
trait
yeah,
from
yeah.
the person whose
Yeah.
heart it is, where I don't mind doing that. You know, I'm great company
Okay,
to myself,
yes,
right?
yes.
So for me, and that self-talk is, you know, that's therapeutic for me,
Yeah.
you know. And even, you know, like birthday, when my 40th, there were a lot of people like, hey, you know, you should do something in the public, and I'm like, now, you know, I just want to go down to the Dewey Beach, you know,
Right,
solo,
right.
you know,
Yeah.
and enjoy my time. So,
Okay.
yeah, just enjoying my own time and peace has been therapeutic for me.
That's major, man. That you got to learn to love yourself.
Right.
Because
right.
people don't love themselves.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So
absolutely.
that's excellent that you can just sit with yourself, vibe, do what you need to do.
Right. Sometimes no
reflect.
TV, right?
Yeah.
Just stewing in my thoughts in a good way, though.
Right, right.
And then too, I mean, I still do a lot of stuff locally, helping people out outside. I mean, at this point, I'm pretty much known as the pardon or the record clearing guy. So you got people, especially Philadelphia, always reaching out. So yeah, I'm usually I keep myself busy, but like I said, that alone time I enjoy.
So you're just gonna, or you feel like you might come back into politics and go a little further?
Well, yeah, like I said, I'm on the outside of politics now. So, as a lobbyist, when I'm doing it, so I work for, my full-time job is an organization called Ceasefire PA. So I'm their director of government affairs. So we're the Commonwealth's leading gun violence prevention organization, advocacy organization.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still, and I lobby for the state of Harrisburg. So I'm at the Capitol building every day, or at least when they're in session. So I'm still involved, but not so much on the, on the outside looking in. Yeah, I get that question. For me, at one point I was seeking it out, as opposed to where I'm at now. It's like, I'm going to let it come to me. If the right opportunity emerges, then I'll definitely consider it. But before, I was more calculated. Like, even with the mayor stuff, that was kind of like a 5-year plan. So, and that was part of the reluctance of even taking the part in the job. Because it was like, damn, I've been working on this shit for 5 years, and now it's here.
Yeah.
So yeah, eventually, but I'll have some influence in politics one way or another.
Yeah, you make it so cool to be in the room, man. You do. When you got somebody that's just like you, come from where you come from, and know, like, when they in them rooms and you see, you like.
That's the other thing too that I should tell people. Like, when I used to come at people on social media, or felt like I was saying, listen, I got the same energy for these motherfuckers up Capitol Hill. Too. Like, even the incoming governor, like him, and he was on our board, so him and I have had our fair share of issues. We're cordial, but yeah, I keep the same energy wherever I go. And again, I'm not. The easy thing for me would have been was just once I got the gig, kick my feet back up, kick my feet up, and just chill out and collect the check. But for me, it was like, I'm here. It's, again, quality of life versus quantity. So it wasn't like, I'm gonna be here for 10 years. I'm gonna do as much as I can in this role, and then I'm gonna bounce off somewhere else.
How many head are you at? We've got Tier Firm. You're also the president of
Bro to God. Yeah, shout out to Bro to God.
Yeah, like, man.
Listen, man, like I said, for me, I think one of the things that has been helpful for me not, reoffending was staying busy. So, and that was another thing too, to your earlier point. Before I got the part in this gig, I was in hustle mode professionally, right? And I think once I got that job, I kind of I got out of that, right? I got a lot of attention, obviously a lot of people wanting to meet, and even on the personal side, a lot of different women and stuff reaching out. So I kind of got away from the shit that got me to where I was. Okay. So that was something where, like, you know what, let me get back to the essence of what helped me get to where I was. So admittedly, that was something where it was like, yeah, I want to get back to that, because a lot of people don't even know what I did before pardons. It was just kind of like, just thought I got the job. Like, no, shit, I was pretty accomplished before. That's how I got the joint. So I want to get back to that. So for me, staying busy, and more importantly, not just having shit on my resume for the sake of having it. Like, I'm actually have some, I'm gonna have some influence in some way, shape, or form. And part of having that influence is not for me. So nobody has ever heard me say, yeah, I'm about to bag, or I'm trying to get money. For me, it is about power, but it's for power for the sake of leveraging it to help other people. Yes, absolutely,
absolutely. So let me ask you, what piece of advice would you give to our listeners? What would you tell them?
There's a lot of things I would tell you, but certainly if you're going to be operating in a public space, or government space, or anything political, or just be a public facing person. It is, you have a responsibility, right? And then, what's funny is, and I seen him tonight, but he wasn't the one who said it. So when I was Secretary of Board of Pardons, so we have each state agency has, they have a budget hearing. They have budget hearings every year. So essentially what happens is you go before the appropriations committee, and you tell them, hey, for my agency, here's what we need. And maybe we need the same amount we got last year, or hey, I need an increase because we have a project. So I went before the board, and at the time I had said something about stop and frisk that was controversial. And one of the guys on the appropriations committee said, he said, yeah, man, I seen you were in the news recently, and he said, so I used to be a staffer before, and he said, one thing you need to know is, when you're a public official, You don't have any private, because even in that interview, I said my private opinion. He said you don't have no private opinions.
Yeah, you don't.
And I wanted to debate him, but I was there. I needed another $500,000, so I just ate it. But it was good advice too, where it was like he's like you don't have any private opinions. So and at the end of the day, if you are working for someone else, or if you're working for the people, you have to be mindful of that. As much as you try to separate yourself from the public person, you can't.
Yeah, you gotta respect that when you come in. So I need 3 books. What 3 books would you recommend? 3 books.
So I would say the autobiography of Malcolm X, Alex Haley. I think it is 7 Effective Habits of Highly Effective People, or 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yes.
Something called Covey.
Yep.
And if I had to pick a third, at least for me, what was helpful was it was a book called The Wretched of the Earth, and it was Frantz Fanon. And this was a guy, was a French dude, but he was talking about like revolution, how revolutions work, both in the traditional sense, where you're talking about a country, revolting against the government, and then just mental warfare, right, or revolution. So, and that's part of, I like to say that I'm always reinventing myself, but so that inner revolution is key too. So those would be the 3 books I would recommend.
All right. So can you tell them where they can find your law firm? I mean, Lazarus.
Yeah. So anyone who's interested in either clearing their criminal record, anyone who's interested who's had issues applying for positions and being disqualified or not considered because of your criminal conviction. You can find us at www.thelazarusfirm.com. Keyword just Lazarus Firm. If you key that in any search engine, you'll find it. You'll see 2. There's 2. There'll be 2 results. There's the Lazarus Law Firm, which is in Lancaster, and then the Lazarus Firm, which is what we do as criminal history record information. We're criminal history record information specialists. Or just look for Brandon Flood. I'm pretty transparent. Phone number is public. All that. So if you want your shit going, bad enough, you can find me.
Yeah. All right.
If you don't, you ain't gonna holler at him. Shit.
Right.
Hey, well, we appreciate you for coming through.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? You gave us a lot of information. You told us your story, which was amazing. You know what I mean? It's just good to see where you came from. And I'm just meeting you, but it's still like. That's inspiring to see, like, you came from here, and now you here.
Right. Suited
up, booted up, looking good, healthy, you feel me? So, like, that's an amazing story. Yes. That should encourage a lot of y'all to be like, yo, first hit him up, especially if you need to get your record cleared up, because that, gets you started to go past go, collect your 200.
And listen, and something that you guys said earlier too. One of the things I also do is, and this is part of being honest aid now, is obviously I can tell anyone who wants to clear the record, oh yeah, I got you, and take the bread. Right. But if I don't feel like you're a good candidate or a suitable candidate, I'm gonna tell you that. Yeah. But I'm not just gonna tell you like, yeah, you ain't suitable. I'm gonna give you a roadmap of how to get how to become a suitable candidate. It may not be your time this year. You might need to wait. I had a guy yesterday said, man, I think you should wait like 3 years, to be honest with you. Obviously it's up to them if they want to proceed. Right. But part of what I do is those free consultations, and I give it to you honest.
Yeah, you want to build some. Yeah.
Right. At the end, I want my batting average to be as close to 100%. And more importantly, I don't want to give people false hope. And there's a lot of people who are looking for hope. But at the very least, if I can't get you hope today, I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, you can't be out here on the streets causing and want to be.
See, that's the thing too. When Governor Wolf had they just posted like 2 days ago. They said Governor Wolf issued the most pardons in history. So you had a lot of people hit me up saying, yeah, they said he just did like 2,000, and it was a dude. He had a case from like 2021. I'm like, yeah, man, you just got your shit. Right. So he did pardon a lot of people, but that doesn't apply to everybody. So I do those free consultations and at least try to be honest with people. So, because at the end of the day, I want people, the same relief I got, I want to be able to pay it forward. Again, put me out of the job.
Yeah, I got you.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you, man.
We definitely appreciate you. This has been Quit the Cat Podcast. Make sure y'all check us out on all streaming platforms. I mean, we're on Anchor. Yes. We're on Spotify Music. We're on Apple Music. We're on Amazon.
iHeart.
You You know what I'm saying? We on YouTube,
Yeah,
of course,
everywhere.
because you're going to be seeing us there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Make sure you follow the YouTube page. I mean, not the YouTube page, the Facebook page, as well as the Instagram page for more updates. And make sure you follow all of Brandon's links and websites and everything.
Yeah, website.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, Brandon.
Bro,
Again, Brandon Flood.
Just hit
Keyword.
Brandon
You follow
Flood.
me.
You
Y'all know who he
You
is.
know what I mean? Stop playing.
You already dig it.
But it's been Quit the
Appreciate
Cap.
you, man.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Thank you.
It's your boy BP alongside the
Yes,
Bishop,
sir.
Mr. Brandon Flood.
And
We'll
we
holla.
out. Peace.
Peace to the gang, peace of gang, and welcome to Quit the Cat Podcast.